Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's questions and answers. And we're going to get right to our first question, and you will see why. Here's our first question. Are there any Rosicrucian techniques that help me to take action, to not procrastinate? So there are many helpful techniques. And the first one is to pause to consider why we might be procrastinating. Sometimes it may be because to take whatever action we think we should take is overwhelming to us. We just have too much going on. And when we feel overwhelmed, our brain shuts down. It doesn't let any more in. So that's a natural response when we're feeling overwhelmed. Also, if we stop to consider why we may be procrastinating about something, it may be because we don't want the changes in our life that would come with that change. We might not be ready for whatever the change would be. By not making a decision, we are actually making a decision. And often, if we procrastinate, then alternative options disappear. They're no longer available to us. So again, the first step is to observe why we may be procrastinating, to observe how we feel when we procrastinate. Maybe you prefer to do something other than what you have set as a goal. So observe what that is. If you hit a wall, you can exercise to reset, or you can at least go outside and get some fresh air. It's just a way of rebooting. There's another technique that can help us, especially if we're feeling overwhelmed, and this is to get blood to our brain. And a great way to do that is if you're either seated or standing, just get your head below your knees. So you would just lean forward and have your head below where your knees are, and this brings blood to your brain. Sometimes I speak with the Colombes when we have a Colombe convention, and I always like to present helpful techniques that they can use in school and things that might help them with things that I think they might be liable to encounter. So I've shared with them that if they're taking a test and they hit a wall, they can just knock their pen or pencil onto the floor. And then when they reach down, that gets the blood to their head. And then they can come up refreshed. Now, after I've shared that, I wondered if they're even still using pens or pencils. So that might not apply, but in any case, they can bend down and tie their shoe or do something just to get their head down below their knees so that they can get that blood to their head. It's important when we're procrastinating to not push too hard because, again, if we're overwhelmed or we're not sure that we want what a change will bring, if we push that, it's very likely that some part of us will revolt. So it's better to observe why we may be procrastinating and approach it that way rather than trying to push through. So think now that maybe there's nothing, but think now if there might be something that you are procrastinating about. Maybe you know that it would be beneficial to exercise more, but you're not ready to do that. Maybe you're tired, maybe it's too hot or too cold, or you're just burned out. So think about something that you may be procrastinating about. And again, it may be something that you need to do to make an important decision, but you feel like you just can't do it. So think about this for a moment. Is there anything you may be procrastinating about? So it's helpful to take small steps. So if You have as a goal that you want to run 5 miles a week, or you want to exercise 30 minutes every day, something like that. If you're not able to do that immediately, start with small steps. Maybe you walk 1/10 of a mile, and then you get up to a half a mile, and then a mile, until you're able to reach the goal that you set for yourself. So set a realistic goal, and sometimes we may not have enough information to make an informed decision right now. So our next goal could be to research what we need to do or what we need to know. Again, this goes back to the overwhelm. There are two ways that we may feel overwhelmed. One is that just by life in general, we're tired and too much is coming at us. And the other could be that we feel overwhelmed by the thing we're procrastinating about itself. So let's say you have a major decision to make and you just can't get yourself to make the decision. One smaller step that you could make, rather than making the full decision, is considering what would you need to know in order to make the best decision. So it's just like a general survey of, if I'm going to make a decision about this subject, I would need to know these different things. So determine what it is you would need to know and then start researching them one by one. We can use the power of concentration, which is presented in the Rosicrucian teachings, to observe the details of our procrastination. So we can really be aware and without judgment, just, oh, okay, instead of doing that thing that I don't really want to do, I sat down and ate something, or I went on an internet search that just took me everywhere and nowhere. Another technique that's presented in the Rosicrucian teachings is to develop our will. But again, we need to be really careful that we're not forcing through something that every other part of our being is saying, I don't want to do yet. However, when we get to the point that we really want to do something, we can develop our willpower. The Rosicrucian teachings give us exercises for developing different aspects of ourself each day of the week. And it's on Tuesday that we can benefit most by focusing on our willpower. And we focus on the planet Mars. And again, this is associated with Tuesday. So we can really concentrate on developing our will on Tuesdays. And there is a psychic center that is connected with developing our willpower. And it's the psychic center in our throat, the thyroid center. It plays an important role in mental processes, and it helps to quicken our mind. So let's say if we're just feeling sluggish about something and we want to develop our willpower, we can focus on the psychic center in our throat and the vowel sound that's associated with that. And this will help to develop our will. Another thing we can do to accomplish things that we want to do is to create a to-do list. And there is scientific proof about why to-do lists are effective, believe it or not. And when we list a whole list of what we need to do, it builds tension. We see, okay, I have to do this and this and this. And when we check something off that list, it releases that tension and releases oxytocin, which is the feel-good hormone. So by having a to-do list, we create this tension. Okay, something has to be done. And then when we complete it and we check it off, or on my to-do list, I always scratch a line through it. It just feels so good to do that. And I put everything on there so that I've accomplished this and this and this. And each time we mark through whatever it is we accomplished, it gives us a little hit of oxytocin. And you can also give yourself another type of reward for accomplishing something that we've set as a goal for ourselves. So if there's something that you have been procrastinating about, take a moment now to think why you may not have already moved forward with this. Perhaps it feels overwhelming, or perhaps you don't want the other things that come along with this change in your life. So first decide if you still even want to do that anymore. And if you do, what reward would you give yourself for accomplishing that goal? It can be something small. So just think of something that when you proceed and you accomplish what it is you've set as a goal for yourself, how can you reward yourself? And this, of course, will be in addition to the oxytocin hit that you get when you scratch this off on your to-do list. I consider myself something of an expert on to-do lists. I always keep a to-do list. I've done this since I was a young person. And it's helpful not just to have a daily to-do list, that you have, you know, everything that you need to do. And you put down the bigger list of, all right, by Friday, I'm going to do this. By Thursday, I'm going to do that. And then you have for today, reasonable goals, reasonable things that you can accomplish just for today. Even with my vast experience with to-do lists, I still put too much down for one day. So that's a challenge for myself, as I'm like, oh, I can do this, 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 and this. And so some of those then go over to the next day's to-do list. But it just feels so good when you can scratch that off. Another thing is to eliminate distractions and overwhelm. So if there's something you need to do, you may want to clean your work area or your workout area or whatever, your kitchen or whatever it is, the area that you're going to be achieving your goal in, and to have minimal distractions. Maybe somehow you communicate to family members and friends, I need to take this afternoon to do this thing. And for some of our work, our sanctums are the perfect place to do this. It's not perfect for everything. You don't want to necessarily work out in your sanctum, but sometimes the best place to have a distraction-free and overwhelming-free environment is to go to our sanctums and just close our eyes and really be present in the moment. Here's our next question. How can I synchronize with the present moment or tap into a state of flow aside from meditation? So probably every technique in the Rosicrucian teachings to help us do this could be considered meditation, whether it's attuning with the natural world or focusing on our breath. So the goal is to get beyond our thoughts. However, we're able to do that. We can do this through exercises that stimulate our glands, that release hormones, that activate the autonomic nervous system. And they're the most simple meditations that we can do, that they're really just techniques, but we can call them meditations. We can just observe our breath, and this can take us beyond thought. We can also pull on our earlobes We've spoken about this before. This helps to stimulate the vagus nerve that starts in our brain and goes down to our gut. And it's this two really long nerves. And the nerve goes up to our brain, but there's a little side nerve. And just by pulling down on our earlobes, we're able to help tone the vagus nerves. This creates a calming effect. When we get into a state of flow, this releases endorphins that feel good, and it set the conditions for us to experience a state of flow. So that's what a lot of the Rosicrucian exercises do. And this affects the autonomic nervous system and our different glands that just release hormones that help create that feeling of flow. We can also focus our awareness on our thoughts to see where they're coming from. And this may help us to move beyond them. So we can just sit quietly, and we'll do this for a minute. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And just be aware of thoughts that may come to your mind. Don't try to dismiss them. Just be aware of thoughts that come to your mind. Let them come. So you probably notice that this does not help you stay in the present moment. What we can do to help bring our awareness back to here and now is when these thoughts come to us, we just gently place our awareness back on our breath. We can literally feel the air going in and out of our nostrils. And if these thoughts come to us, again, that's okay. Don't try to fight them because they will win. You can simply say to yourself silently, thinking, and then go back to focusing your attention on your breath as it goes in and out of your nostrils. So we'll do this now. So just breathe normally and focus your attention on feeling the air going in and out of your nostrils. If your mind wanders, no problem. Just mentally say to yourself, thinking, and then gently place your awareness back on the air going in and out of your nostrils. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Decades ago, Rosicrucian researchers found that this simple meditation of focusing on our breath helps us to go deeper in meditation and to stay in the meditative state for much longer. So its benefits begin after just 2 minutes. That's what we did just now. We focused on our breath for just 2 minutes, and it seems that the benefits plateau at around 20 minutes. But in just 2 minutes, we begin to get the physiological and the change in the brain waves from this meditation. Also, before a lot of our meditations, we'll say, take 3 deep breaths, becoming more relaxed with each exhalation. And this is a technique that helps us to relax and to reset. First of all, when we take these breaths, it interrupts the pattern of not breathing very deeply. So we take the deep breath. We'll do this now. Inhale through your nose, and then you can exhale through your mouth or through your nose, but a long exhalation. And do that again. Inhale through your nose. And then a long exhalation, either through your mouth or your nose. And one more time, a deep inhalation through your nose. And then a long exhalation through your mouth or your nose. So just this simple technique helps us to become more aware of the present moment, to reset ourselves when we may be going at a fast pace, or when we're moving through things automatically rather than slowing down and being more present. Just these simple techniques can help to bring us into the present moment. Here's our next question. I have always loved the painting by Leopold de Postels, The Heart Unafraid. It was used in older versions of the Mastery of Life booklet. Is the original still in existence, perhaps hanging somewhere in Rosicrucian Park? And yes, this painting, The Heart Unafraid, is in the Rosicrucian Administration Building. It's just down the hall from my office. And this is by Leopold de Postels, a Rosicrucian who lived from 1909 to 1942. And he was a painter, an illustrator, an architect, a draftsperson, an art educator, and a member of AMWARC. He was born in St. Petersburg, Leningrad, Russia. The de Postels family immigrated to the US in 1922. By 1931, Leopold was active in the professional art world, working alongside his father, who was the architect and artist Theodore de Postels, and his brother, Robert, or sometimes called Roman de Postels. Together, they taught the de Postels art classes, offering instruction in practical perspective, rendering in architecture, and the practical use of color in painting and scenic art. Leopold exhibited in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, the Eastman Cuny Gallery, Ackerman Galleries, and the Morton Galleries. And he went through transition in Poughkeepsie, New York in 1942. And I would like to thank Michael Kelly, who provided this information about our Frater, Leopold de Postels, who created this beautiful image. Here's our next question. I was told growing up by my Rosicrucian mother that the Holy Spirit was within me, always with me, never leaving me to be alone. She taught me to rely on the Holy Spirit for guidance, and she encouraged me to develop a close relationship with the Holy Spirit. She gave me a specific exercise. I would ask the Holy Spirit to awaken me at a certain time, and it never failed. I have continued to do this to this day. This has resonated with my Rosicrucian studies. Early on, I recognized that particular exercise that I just mentioned. So that's an exercise in the Rosicrucian teachings. Is the Holy Spirit another name for the master within? Did she, meaning our soror's mother, call it Holy Spirit to perhaps reach my level of understanding as a child? And it's just so touching that your mother took the care to empower you with a lesson like this, to connect with the divine spark within you. And I don't know if she meant it to be the same thing, or if the Holy Spirit and the Master within are the same thing. And being Rosicrucians, we can always ask ourselves this question. And again, it's just lovely that your mother instilled this type of knowledge and power in her child. Okay, this next question. This was from someone who participated in the deep dive program at Rosicrucian Park recently. And she writes, please tell us again what the saying is about our relationship with the divine. So this is a statement from the Rosicrucian monographs. The goal of all life, including our lives, is to serve as a vehicle for the divine to untiringly contemplate its own reflection. So the goal of all life is to serve as a vehicle for the divine to untiringly contemplate its own reflection. Some of our rituals present this equally poetically, that consciousness created life so that it could experience itself. So then the goal of life, and we could say our mission in life, is just to experience life, is to be aware, to fully experience the joys and the triumphs and the challenges and the sadness, because the divine created us in order to experience all that. Okay, the next question. I was unable to find the video with your meditation called I Am at Peace in Divine Love. Please guide me on how to find it. So this is posted on YouTube. We have our Rosicrucian YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/RosicrucianTV. And the name of this particular video and the meditation is the Way of the Heart meditation. I presented this in December, and we posted it on December 31st. And we're putting the link to this in the chat right now. So we're going to practice this meditation now. The link goes to the entire video, which has a little more information, and we're just going to do the meditation part now. So I invite you to close your eyes. And again, take 3 deep breaths, becoming more relaxed with each exhalation. In this meditation, we will initiate a process to integrate deeper awareness, love, and purpose in our lives. We can return to this meditation anytime we seek clarity, peace, or a renewed connection with our inner self. So with your eyes closed, please focus on your breath again. Just breathe normally. And you can choose to inhale through your nose and out through your mouth, or whatever is most comfortable for you. And while you do this, I am going to quietly say, I open my heart and mind to connect deeply with my inner being, opening myself to the divine wisdom within. So focus on your breath and allow this intention to permeate your being. I open my heart and mind to connect deeply with my inner being, opening myself to the divine wisdom within. Just focus on your breath. I open my heart and mind to connect deeply with my inner being, opening myself to the divine wisdom within. I open my heart and mind to connect deeply with my inner being, opening myself to the divine wisdom within. Silently acknowledge that you are both fully present in this moment and connected to something greater, a deeper consciousness within you. Now we're going to use a simple phrase to synchronize with the breath, engage the heart, deepen our introspection, and visualize our connection. In a moment, we're going to repeat, I am at rest in divine love. On the inhalation, silently say to yourself or say it quietly, I am at rest. And on the exhalation, quietly or silently say, in divine love. Repeat this pattern, aligning the words with the natural rhythm of your breath. As you repeat these words, you will focus your attention on your heart center. You will imagine each word resonating in your heart space, filling it with warmth and light. You will feel the phrase gently activating a sense of peace, love, and connection. Allow the rhythm of the words, a mantra, and your breath to guide your thoughts inward. If your mind begins to wander, gently return to the phrase, I am at rest in divine love. Visualize your heart as a radiant source of light. Each time you say these words, imagine this light expanding, illuminating your entire body, and then radiating outward into the world. Trust that this light carries both your intention for healing and divine love to all beings. Now begin. Inhale. I am at rest. Exhale. In divine love. I am at rest. In divine love. I am at rest. In divine love. And you continue. I am at rest. In divine love. And when you're ready, take a deep breath. Take a long exhalation. And then open your eyes. Okay. Now for our next question. Animals lack an individual soul and consequently have no premeditation and are incapable of wrongdoing. Animals have a collective soul. So does the soul make us do wrong? So I'm going to share a few comments about that. One is that animals are incapable of wrongdoing. And I don't know if you've ever seen these videos, but there are some where like people take videos of their dog after they've eaten the couch or another animal. So I think, and then they like blame it on the other dog. So, and you know, once you watch one of those videos, there are going to be more. They show up in your feed. So it's possible that animals are capable of wrongdoing. But that aside, the Rosicrucian teachings do state that animals have a collective soul. And in particular, I think it was H. Spencer Lewis who wrote that. Personally, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know enough about the nature of the soul to be certain if that's correct. And for me, the soul is the divine spark within every being. So it does seem like animals and all beings would have some aspect of the soul. So to make that question more broad, what makes people do wrong? What makes people do things that aren't helpful to themselves or others? According to the Rosicrucian teachings, wrongdoing arises from a lack of harmony with cosmic law and a connection from one's inner divine nature. The path to error is often rooted in ignorance, imbalance, or misidentification with the lower aspects of the self. And here are some reasons why, from a Rosicrucian perspective, individuals may do things, again, that are not helpful to themselves or others. It could be because the dominance of the personality over the soul, that we act from separation rather than unity, and this can result in selfish or harmful behavior. It could be because of a lack of attunement with the cosmic. Wrongdoing often arises when we are out of attunement with the cosmic mind, the universal intelligence that governs all life through harmony and order. It could be because of ignorance of natural and spiritual laws. This includes the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, and the principle of universal harmony. It could be because of emotional imbalance. Strong, unregulated emotions, such as anger, envy, fear, or greed, can cloud reason and obscure the soul's guidance. People may do things that aren't helpful because of a disconnection from purpose. If someone feels aimless, alienated, or cut off from meaning, they may act destructively, seeking fulfillment through outer gratification rather than inner realization. And someone not acting for their own good and the good of others may be a lack of reflection and self-knowledge. The Rosicrucian maxim, know thyself, is central to moral development. Without self-awareness, it's easy to project blame, act unconsciously, or follow harmful patterns. Wrongdoing is often the result of habitual thought rather than conscious choice. And last, it may be through karmic influence or unresolved lessons. So here's our next question. I am brand new to Rosicrucianism, but not meditation. I have some questions around Rosicrucian versus yogic meditation. How is Rosicrucian meditation different from yogic, and how is it the same? So I'm not an expert on yogic meditation, and I do think that there are some similarities, such as focusing on the breath, which everyone can do. This is a meditation practice anyone can do, just even breathing normally and placing our attention on our breath, on our nostrils, as the air goes in and out of our nose. We can hold the breath both in when the lungs are full and out when the lungs are empty. This, in the Rosicrucian teachings, is the rebalancing exercise, and I know there are similar exercises in yoga. In the Rosicrucian teachings, we have psychic centers, which are areas where it's where a lot of nerves come together, and it's either a gland, an organ, or a plexus. And we work with these psychic centers. And in yogic traditions, they have something similar, although it's different, which are chakras. And in both traditions, we intone sounds. Rosicrucians, we call it vowel sounds. And in the yogic tradition, there are chants. During the training path, are all levels open and the student progresses up and down, or is it revealed? This is by the a question by the same new member. The Rosicrucian teachings are presented by degree. And in our first 15 months of study, we touch on almost every subject that will be covered for the rest of our lessons. but later we come at them from different directions. So it's we progress in the studies. And some of these topics that we are introduced to early on and then come back and study them more in depth are meditation, psychic receptivity, healing. So we touch on these in the very beginning, and then we come back and approach them again. This is still from the same person now. Are there links between breathing, moves, mind, focus, and energy, and body, or something else? So if I understand this question correctly, no, we don't, for example, move our hands in rhythm with our breath. We do intone vowel sounds, and there are several breathing exercises. There's the overall exercise where we focus our attention on a tiny vibrating cell, starting with a tiny cell in one toe, and then we move up in our body. And we have our psychic body and our physical body. And then the last question from this new member, in yoga, there is constant emphasis on peace and unity and a return to the divine woven through traditional yoga. How is the Rosicrucian tradition the same or different? Rosicrucians contribute to peace by emphasizing individual harmony as a foundation for global peace. We promote understanding, compassion, and universal love, believing that aligning with higher spiritual principles can cultivate inner peace, which then radiates outward to influence relationships and the wider world. Rosicrucians strive to embody peace in our daily lives by practicing understanding, resolving conflicts through dialogue, respecting nature, and making peace the core of our philosophy. And we have two documents that make this commitment clear. One is the Code of Life, and the other is called the Rosicrucian Contribution to Peace. And this has been made into a short video, which we're going to watch now. For those of you who are on your phone, you won't be hearing this. We just have music, but you can come back and watch it another time. But this is, again, a 2-minute video, the Rosicrucian Contribution to Peace. So again, that's the Rosicrucian Contribution to Peace, which is a document made into this video. And you can find this on youtube.com/Rosicrucian TV. So the next question is a mantra used in the Rosicrucian teachings, and is it personal or is it taught? And I think this is referring to certain forms of meditation where you're given a specific word to meditate on, and we do not have that in the Rosicrucian teachings. And then our last question. In yoga, mantras and prayers link you to the guru, the living guru, and thought form from lineage and disciples. It is more than just a teacher and guide. It's a mediator to your divine. And do the Rosicrucian teachings introduce living mediators? And the answer to that is that the Rosicrucian tradition states that there are masters of our tradition who watch over all of us, but we don't interact with them, and we turn to our master within as our guide. And then as far as having a guru within the organization, we do not have a Rosicrucian guru within our tradition. So that concludes our questions and answers for this month. Thank you for participating.